This week, I'm a real farmer. My dad's away on holidays, so I have a lot of jobs to do that ordinarily are not my responsibility. So I'm going to bring you with me over the next 2 or 3 days as we do lots of the mundane jobs on the farm, which I often try and convince someone else to do. And then at the end of this video, we are going to do a cash flow because the milk price looks like it's heading in a pretty dire direction. And I want to do a little series on how I plan to survive the next 12 months. First job this morning is tagging some new calves. This calf was born yesterday afternoon. It was tubed during milking yesterday evening. And now the cow will be coming off this evening. What are you? You're a heifer. 8604. What are you doing, you doofus? What are you doing? 7784. It's actually very strange for me showing you normal farming jobs. This is just not the style of video I do. These two heifers were just in last night in case they calved, but they'll probably be a few days away. Come on. Shh. This is probably another place you've never seen in a video. This is our bad calf house. There's like nowhere near enough ventilation. It's fine at the start of the year, but once you get overcrowded with calves, it can have some big issues. We have another little beef calf to tag. Bull. Find out who his mother was on my phone. 7740. Will you throw that in the parlour? I'll throw these tags in. We're heading over to the out farm this morning to bring home some cows. So now Calvin's waiting on me. Again, I never go to our out farm. It's always my dad and Calvin who head over. So I might as well show you that as well. And when we're there, I'll show you the reseed we done at the end of September. Has it actually germinated? Well, you can find out in about 2 minutes. This is the farm where the roof blew off in the storm in January. And we had planned to get this fixed, but it never happened. And it's certainly not going to happen now. To be honest, the plan is to bring this entire out farm back home. And it's not going to happen until the parlour loan's finished, which I think we have another 4 years left on, because it's going to be a £500,000 job. We also still do self-feeding here, where we move a wire forward and the cattle eat off the face. It works okay, but we're still coming over here 3 times a week with a JCB to fill round feeders. At the back of the shed, there's another yard, just like this front one, also self-feeding. That side is put from the other side, and it has around 60 or 70 heifers. Well, there's one we have to bring home, and then this cow's the other one. Come on, shh, shh, shh. Come on, shh, come on, shh, come on, shh. Come on, shh. Come on, shh. Come on, shh. That's the 2 cows loaded. Before we head back to the farm, let's take a look at our reseed. Has it actually germinated? Thankfully, yes it has. We have a few runs here from all the heavy rain. The field is absolutely soaking wet, but we should have a crop of grass of this for first cut next year. The one thing that I'm slightly worried about is this reseed didn't get any fertilizer. Just it was too late in the year to do that. So we're gonna have to try and get on pretty early in the year. And if it's a wet spring, that might prove difficult, but overall, I'm very happy with it. And right beside the field we reseeded at the end of the year is the field we reseeded at the start of the year. And it's done really well. And all of the drains are definitely working at the minute. That's a decent flow of water. Right. We'll get these 2 cows off. Me and Calvin have some calves to bring in from the fields. The last animal's currently out. And then I have a podcast to do at 11 o'clock. So I'll see you after lunch. Come on, watch them go down the lane. Should be okay. Come on. Shh. Go to the other side. Oh, they'll be down to Joe's. Come on. Shh. Come on. Shh. Come on. Come on. Shh. Come on. Right, be greedy. Come on. Shh. Come on. Shh. Come on. Shh. Come on. Come on. Shh. Come on. Shh. Come on. Shh. Come on. Come on. Come on. Hey. What? Hey. Hey, what the? What a rascal. So greedy. Come on.
Go.
Come on. 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 You can open them 2 gates and chain that back. I'll feed them. Right, we'll give that a while to mix. Every other day I do a beef mix and a dry cow mix. So that'll be both done now for another 2 days. The podcast went well. It was for a local newspaper. It's one of them weird things I agree to. And we actually talked quite a lot about politics, which I find very interesting, including the direct question if I'm ever considered running for election. So it was an interesting podcast. I think that's pretty much everything done for today until milking time. My plan for the rest of the afternoon is to go and start the VAT books. That's very exciting content, but that is important because it is my VAT records which form the basis of how I do my cash flow. Catch up with you tomorrow when we will be vaccinating all of the cows and clipping all their tails. And then tomorrow afternoon, I will hopefully get my cash flow done and find out just how screwed I actually am. But I finally now have 2 hours. 2 hours until milking this evening. And I'm going to use that to get my cash flow done. Because I have all my VAT books done up to date, I have the most up-to-date financial information possible, which means my cash flow will be as accurate as it possibly could be. Why is there calves out? Oh my Calvin! Oh balls, oh balls, oh balls. This is not expected. Okay. This is bad. Oh my days! Okay. This took a turn. Watch! Oh, I'm here on my own. I needed to go that way. What the frig? Where'd they come from? I swear, this happens every couple of months. I'm not going to blame anyone, but someone didn't chain the gate. Oh my days, how am I getting them back in? Okay, we've got big problems. Oh heck, I think they went out now, past the loader. Frig's sake. Oh my days. Come on. This is why I have trust issues. Come on, get out. Right, there is one has escaped. The rest of them I should be able to close them in. There's more of them out. Frig's sake. Oh my days. Right, get out of here. Come on. Okay, we'll deal with these 2 first, and then we'll try and get the one back at the front of the yard. I mean, what is it going to do lying there? Oh! It's fine. They haven't got out in the road, and at least that tractor stopped them running down that back lane. Because if they had, they would have been in all of the grazing fields. We have one more that's escaped. Come on. Shh. Come on, get in. Okay, we're nearly there. We're nearly ready to get them back in. I've got my very expensive gate set up. I'm now going to open the gate back into the pen and try and chase them over and hope for the best. If this goes wrong, it's very, very bad. But I don't have the patience to wait for help. I have a cash flow to do. I'm a bit worried they're gonna run up there, but I'll take a chance. Okay, they're going. Let's go. Come on, come on, shh. Come on, shh. It's literally chained every single time for the last like 10 years. I bet that experience is going to be very relatable for a lot of people. Cattle breaking out because someone didn't do something. To be fair, I have done it loads of times. So it's no one's fault. These things just happen. Okay, what was I saying before all of that happened? I have no idea. It's been a busy 2 days. I got my VAT done yesterday. I was at it until about 9:30 at night. But that means I have really up-to-date financial records, which allows me to make the most accurate cash flow possible. Now the next step is to take the last year of financial information from this farm and put that into a spreadsheet, which is going to be the base of my cash flow for the year coming. And then what I do is I tweak the numbers to reflect my expectations going forward. So for example, I will adjust the milk price, which is going to make several £100,000 worth of difference. I will adjust the meal price and how much meal I expect to feed. And then I will do a little bit of tweaking around some of the other costs. Probably going to use slightly less fertilizer this year coming. And all the work around draining and reseeding, I'm going to cut all of that out. I am working on the assumption that I am in survival mode going forward. That's how I do my cash flows. I will show you the finished result tomorrow and we will spend some time talking through it. And then in next week's video, we are going to make a plan. A plan as to how I'm going to survive on less than 30 pence a litre for the next 12 months. I'll chat to you tomorrow once I have this cash flow done. And welcome back to the studio. Let's finally take a look at our cash flow, which is the entire point of this video. I do also want to say at this point that as far as I'm concerned, last week's video where we did just have a chat and talk about sort of current affairs was very much a success in my eyes, and I do plan to do that more regularly going forward. At the minute, I plan to do it live on a Wednesday evening, and I'm going to do it every 2 weeks. That allows me a little bit of flexibility in case I'm busy on a Wednesday evening, so I can just record it the week after or the week before. I just think there's an awful lot going on in the world of agriculture, the world of politics, and it'd be nice to have some more interaction with everyone who watches these videos, which is why I'm really keen to do it live. So you can all look forward to that on Wednesday. Anyway, back to my cash flow. So it's important at this point that I make it clear that cash flow is not profit. You can have a bad cash flow, but still generate a profit. So don't confuse the two. However, I would also argue that a cash flow is actually much more important in the short term than your company accounts and the profit you make at the end of the year. Because most companies go out of business not because they're not profitable, but because they run out of cash because their cash flow just doesn't work. And if you're a farmer and you've never done a cash flow, I would highly recommend it. It does honestly just help knowing the scale of the problem. It takes a lot of weight off your shoulders and just gets rid of a lot of the stress. And also your bank manager will really appreciate a cash flow, especially an accurate cash flow, when you inevitably have to go and ask for more money if this milk price crash lasts for as long as I think it will. So I have been doing cash flows using this template basically for 10 years now, and it's proved fairly accurate. It looks very boring and lots of numbers on a page, so I've actually updated it for this video for this year. I've added some nice colors and I have redacted some information. There's always a fine balance when you're talking about finances between oversharing financial information and people getting really annoyed about that and not sharing enough so no one actually takes anything useful away. So what I've done is I've redacted quite a lot of information and all the information which could be associated with one company or one person to leave a very vague skeleton, but it will very much still give you the idea of why a cash flow is useful and what the collapsing milk price means for me and my business going forward for the next 12 months. So this is my 2025 cash flow, and you may wonder, why have I done a cash flow for 2025? But it is useful because then you can compare what you're modeling, what my cash flow has predicted versus my actual bank balance. So normally I have my bank balance and the predictions down at the bottom here, but obviously I've hidden that. And I can tell you that it is surprisingly accurate, which gives me confidence that my figures are going to be correct going forward. At least I'm certain they're not in the realms of total fantasy, so I can have some confidence in them. So we obviously have not finished 2025, so November and December are a prediction. And the way that my prediction works is I base it on the previous year's expenses, the previous year's sales, and then I make adjustments if there is information that has changed. The biggest example of information which would have changed is, of course, the milk price. So let's take a look at 2025 and then we'll get on to 2026. And remember, this is not profit. This is cash flow. So this is the difference in your bank account on the 1st of January one year to the 1st of January next. So first of all, let's look at our total receipts, which comes to just over £900,000. And then we take a look at our total payments. It comes to £935,000. So for the year, we are expected to have a negative cash flow of £23,000. And where have we got that from? Why has that happened? Why is that not a positive number? Well, first off, your cash flow probably shouldn't be a positive number because a cash flow includes everything. It includes the money you take out of the business to live yourself. It includes your tax. It includes everything. So in general, you want your cash flow to balance, and that basically means you've stayed still. So negative £23,000 isn't unusual. It sort of swings around that region. And if we look at the impact of the last 3 months of 2025, it's actually not as bad as I'd expected. In the final 3 months of 2025, we have a negative cash flow position of almost £50,000. Now, the autumn and winter months are always our bad months for cash flow, the worst month always being January. But it has been made significantly worse this year because of the scale of the milk price crash. Our income for October, November, and December is much lower than I ever would have predicted if I had done a cash flow in July. So before we even get to 2026, we're off to a bad start. We are burning money at this point. And I had actually done the 2025 figures last night, but I hadn't yet done the 2026 figures. I done them this morning. And believe me, I went to bed worried last night. But thankfully, when I done the 2026 figures this morning, they actually weren't catastrophic. Now, there's a lot of caveats around that statement. The first caveat is I am still projected to have a negative cash flow of £32,000. That's not fantastic. And that is based on what some might say is an optimistic milk price of 30 pence a litre across next year. You can see at the top here, our average milk price I'm predicting is going to be 31 pence. However, that does include all bonuses. So in reality, that would be a base price of around 27p, which I think is maybe a little pessimistic, but it's better to be pessimistic than optimistic. And if we flick back between the two, you can see that our total receipts in 2026 are predicted to be down to 670,000, a colossal drop from 900,000 in the current year. And the reason why our cash flow is not catastrophic is because when I put the numbers in, our costs also fell significantly. In 2026, I am predicting my costs to be just over 700,000, whereas in 2025, they were 935,000. The main difference is that I've removed all capital expenditure and things like repairing drainage in fields. In 2025, including VAT, because our VAT comes off in the receipts column, I spent £129,000 on capital expenses and land drainage and stones and things that I don't have to spend every year. So that is the bulk of the difference. There is also some other things which are going to make a difference. Last year, because I was short of silage, I fed a lot more concentrates than I normally would have. So I am predicting that we go back to normal for 2026, which is a significant reduction. And I'm also predicting that I'm going to spend slightly less on things like contractor charges because I'm going to try and do more work myself. A bad milk price and no money is pretty good motivation to do that. And the really useful thing about having an accurate cash flow is not just that it gives you a picture of the entire year, but it gives you a picture month to month. So if we go back to 2025, you can see that in October our cash flow is negative £30,000. Just a lot of bills are due and our milk volumes are really low in September. And we have another really bad month coming in December where my cash flow is predicted to be negative 23,000. So if I wasn't doing a cash flow and I seen them two massive drops coming out of my current account, I'd be panicking. Is this now the new normal? Am I going to lose this much money every month? But thankfully it's not the new normal. You can see that in January, February and March, even at a very poor milk price, we are predicted to have a cash flow surplus. And it's not really until this time next year where we have another big hit on our cash flow, which takes us to the negative 32 at the end of the year. The final 3 months of 2026, our cash flow is estimated to be negative £60,000. As I said, the winter months are always the bad months. Now there is one more important caveat to all of this, which is that I have not included my tax payments. I have spent a lot of capex and brought that into 2024-25, and I've also paid quite a lot of tax on account in the previous year. So I am expecting a tax bill, but I'm expecting it not to be that bad. Look, I could go into way more detail. There's so much information you can glean from doing an accurate cash flow, but I don't want to bore you all to death. And I do plan to do next week's video on how I'm going to reduce that deficit. So I haven't actually made any attempts to make changes to save money yet. How much could I potentially save? How much could we change that outcome at the end of 2026? Honestly, I'm not sure. It's not going to be that significant, but perhaps we could potentially save £10,000. And that's going to be what we're going to try next week. We're going to really get into the details on some of the costs on this farm and see if we can reduce how much we're paying. Anyway, that is going to do us for this week. Hopefully you enjoyed this week's video. I had to sprinkle a little bit of farming in there to keep you all engaged enough that you'd put up with a cash flow at the end. But it's one of them things no one else ever talks about. But if you're actually a farmer, it really does make a big difference. And with the future that dairy is facing, it might be really, really helpful and useful to some of you. If you have any comments, stick them down below. Please do give this video a like and subscribe so I make more money from YouTube to help me survive this all. And once again, thank you so much for watching. I will see you on Wednesday when the plan is to do our first ever live show. I'm aiming for 8:30 p.m.